The airport air felt ordinary. The faint rattle of luggage wheels, the low chatter of travelers, the distant hum of announcements, until that voice cut through. "Sir, ma'am, could you step aside for a quick check?" The tone was courteous, but its weight carried something else, something unspoken. Jordan looked at Alana, their eyes meeting briefly, the kind of look that said, "We've been here before." He rose slowly, calm but aware that calmness wouldn't change what came next. A silence spread around them, subtle but sharp. People nearby pretended not to look while staring just enough to feed curiosity. Alana's hands tightened around her passport. The officer's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Just routine," he said, though his grip on the radio betrayed unease. The moment stretched, not loud, but loud in its stillness. Jordan's voice came soft, controlled. "Routine for everyone or just us?" The question lingered, heavy, unanswered. Narration bled into the scene like breath. They had learned how to stand without shrinking, how to answer without begging for fairness, how to exist where suspicion was habit. Another officer appeared, scanning them up and down, whispering into his mic. The sound was tiny but invasive, as if erasing their right to simply be. Alana's voice trembled slightly. "Is there a problem?" The man hesitated, then looked away. "Just stay still." The crowd's hum returned, only now filled with silent opinions. Someone muttered, "Always something." Another shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to feel guilty or grateful. Jordan stood taller, not in defiance, but in defense of dignity. He didn't speak again. He didn't need to. The look in his eyes carried every word history had ever left unfinished. And just like that, the calm broke, quietly, completely. The silence around Gate 12 thickened, like air too heavy to breathe. Jordan stood with his hands loosely at his sides, though every instinct told him to keep them visible, still, harmless. Alana's voice stayed quiet, her eyes following every move Officer Hale made. His walk carried that practiced confidence, the kind that came from never being questioned. He stopped a few feet away, his tone flat, rehearsed. "We've had a report. Need to confirm something." The words weren't accusations, but they didn't need to be. They already carried the weight of belief. Jordan asked, "A report about what?" He spoke calmly, though the tremor beneath his voice was a lifetime of knowing the answer didn't matter. Hale's gaze flicked over them, then at the waiting passengers. Some looked away. Others leaned in, pretending not to listen. The quiet judgment felt louder than any siren. Narration bled through. Sometimes guilt isn't proven, it's assigned. Long before a question, long before a defense, it's painted into your skin. Alana reached for Jordan's wrist, whispering, "Don't say too much." Not out of fear of guilt, but fear of escalation. Hale adjusted his badge as if the medal alone could justify his certainty. "You match a description," he said. That phrase, cold, mechanical, carried every echo of history. A woman nearby shifted uncomfortably. A man recording with his phone lowered it halfway, unsure if this was wrong enough yet to capture. The crowd's silence became complicity. Jordan exhaled slowly. "A description," he repeated, the words tasting bitter. Hale didn't look him in the eye. The moment stretched. Fragile, tense, inevitable. In rooms like this, fairness doesn't arrive with the badge, the narration whispered. It waits behind it, unseen, uninvited. The sound was small, a click, a lock, a pause. Yet it carried more than any word that morning. Jordan's wrists met the steel, and in that instant, time seemed to stop. The officer's expression didn't shift. It was the kind of calm that comes from habit, not necessity. "It's just procedure," Hale muttered, his tone sharp enough to cut through Alana's trembling voice. She stepped forward. "Procedure for what? He didn't resist. He didn't even move." Her words quivered, but her eyes were steady. Around them, the terminal turned into an audience. Phones lifted, whispers grew. Someone gasped softly, another whispered, "He's not even fighting." Jordan swallowed, his breath shallow. "You don't have to do this." His voice cracked, quiet but clear. Hale's smirk flickered, the smallest fracture in his composure. "If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear," he replied, echoing the script he'd repeated countless times before. Narration crept in, soft but cutting. Every oppressor learns the rhythm of control, not through violence, but repetition. Every victim learns silence the same way. The metal glinted under fluorescent light, cold against skin that had done nothing but exist in the wrong moment. Alana's hands shook as she reached toward him, then froze, unsure if touching him would make it worse. A woman behind them muttered, "This isn't right." The first crack in the crowd's quiet complicity. A camera flashed, once, twice, freezing dignity in chains. Hale shifted uneasily, his confidence bending under the weight of attention. Jordan lowered his head. "You think this makes you safe?" he asked softly. Hale said nothing, and for the first time the narration whispered. It wasn't Jordan who looked small, it was the man holding the key. The sharp buzz of static sliced through the air, breaking the uneasy rhythm of whispers and camera clicks. Everyone froze. Hale's hand hovered mid-air, the key glinting between his fingers as the voice on the radio crackled louder, urgent, unmistakable. "Do not detain them. Secret Service inbound. Repeat, stand down immediately." The words hit like a slap. Hale blinked, his confidence faltering for the first time. The entire terminal seemed to hold its breath. A few phones dropped from trembling hands, their lenses still recording. Alana's voice trembled, not from fear this time, but from disbelief. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her tone quiet yet echoing through the silence. Jordan lifted his head slowly, the cuffs still binding his wrists. "Seems like someone finally did." His voice wasn't angry, just tired, deliberate, almost too calm for the chaos unraveling around them. Hale stepped back, jaw tight, the color draining from his face. "There's a mistake," he muttered, though no one responded. The crowd, once passive, now leaned closer, their gazes shifting, not at Jordan, but at the man who had just realized the world was watching. Narration slipped in softly. "Power doesn't fade with a fight. It fades with exposure." Hale's radio hissed again, this time quieter, more final. The echo of authority he once owned dissolved into static. A Secret Service agent appeared in the distance, moving with quiet urgency. Hale's shoulders sagged as if gravity suddenly remembered him. He reached for the cuffs, hands trembling. Jordan didn't pull away. He simply said, "You should have listened before they had to tell you." The key turned. The cuffs clicked open, and in that fragile, suspended moment, it wasn't freedom that stunned them. It was the sound of power breaking. The room smelled like paper and dust, the kind of silence that holds secrets too long. Jordan sat at his desk, the same folder open again, edges frayed, ink faded. Each page carried ghosts, reports stamped closed, witness names crossed out, complaints dismissed with identical signatures. The kind of repetition that didn't happen by accident. Alana stood behind him, voice barely above a whisper. "How long have you been keeping these?" He didn't look up. "Since before they cuffed me. Since before they even knew my name." He flipped another page and a photograph slipped out. A mother clutching her son's shirt outside a precinct. "They called her angry," he murmured. "She was grieving." Alana picked up a different file, the label half torn, Hale, R, Conduct Review. Her thumb brushed over the words. "They buried this," Jordan nodded. "Every file is a quiet funeral for truth." He leaned back, eyes distant. "But now, they'll have to dig them all up." Narration wrapped the moment like a slow exhale. Justice doesn't roar in headlines. It whispers from forgotten pages. The hum of a laptop broke the stillness. A news anchor's voice filled the space. "Newly surfaced documents suggest long-term misconduct within local law enforcement." Jordan stared at the screen, unreadable. "They finally listened," Alana said softly. He shook his head. "No, they finally couldn't ignore it." For a moment, both watched the broadcast. The same officer, the same lies now broadcast in daylight. The silence between them wasn't grief this time. It was the kind that comes right before a storm, The files hadn't changed. The world around them finally did. The newsroom buzzed with unease, screens flashing, phones vibrating, hearts caught between duty and fear. Maya Ellis stood still in the noise, eyes fixed on the footage looping again and again. The couple, the cuffs, the gun glinting under daylight. The sound had been stripped, but silence screamed louder than words ever could. "They can't bury this one," she whispered. Her editor, Brooks, leaned against the glass wall, his face drawn tight. "You know what happens if we run it without clearance." Maya didn't flinch. "You mean if we tell the truth?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Sponsors are already calling. They're nervous." She turned the monitor toward him. "So is the world." They should be. Narration slipped between their words. Some truths don't ask for permission. They just break through. A younger intern peeked in, whispering, "It's everywhere, Maya. TikTok, Twitter, local feeds. It's out." Brooks froze. "Who leaked it?" Maya's eyes flickered toward the window. "Does it matter? It's not our story anymore. It's everyone's." The silence after that felt heavy, not fear, but recognition. For years, stories like this had come and gone, muffled by edits and pressure. But this time, the faces in the video refused to disappear. Brooks finally spoke, voice quiet. "We'll run it. Full segment. No filters." Maya exhaled, not relief, but something deeper. Defiance wrapped in calm. "Then we're finally doing our job." Outside, thunder rolled faintly, the city waking to what it had ignored too long. The newsroom lights flickered, catching Maya's reflection in the screen. Steady, unshaken, watching history turn itself inside out. The story had escaped control. And for once, no one dared to look away. The blinds were half closed, slicing sunlight into nervous lines across the conference table. Officer Hale sat stiff, hands clasped, the sound of a ticking clock filling the gaps where words should have been. Across from him, two internal affairs agents exchanged quiet looks, the kind that said everything without saying a word. "Is this some kind of joke?" Hale asked, forcing a thin smile. Agent Morris didn't answer right away. He slid a folder across the table. "You tell us." Inside were copies, reports Hale thought had vanished years ago, complaints, testimonies. One labeled, "Use of Force, Dismissed." His name stamped on every page. He laughed, hollow. "You're digging through old ghosts. None of this holds up." Morris leaned back. "Maybe, but ghosts talk now. Cameras too." Narration slipped through the tension. Power doesn't disappear. It rots from the inside. The younger agent, Davis, cleared his throat. "There's footage, sir, from the gate incident." "It contradicts your statement." Hale's jaw tightened. "You think you know what it's like out there? You think you'd survive 5 minutes?" Morris cut him off, calm but sharp. "You survived plenty. Maybe too much." A pause. "The kind that makes walls breathe." Hale looked around. Same room, same men, but their eyes weren't the same. Loyalty had thinned, fear replaced it. "After all I've done for this department," he muttered. "No one's asking you to fall," Morris said quietly. "But the ground's moving either way." The folder stayed open between them. Truth laid bare, steady and silent. Outside the door, footsteps passed, slow and deliberate. Inside, the air shifted. Not a storm yet, but the sound of something heavy beginning to break. Flashes burned through the night like lightning that refused to fade. The couple stood under the airport lights, surrounded by noise, cameras, shouts, questions that all sounded the same. "How do you feel? Do you plan to sue? Was it racially motivated?" None of them asked why it always had to come to this. Jordan didn't answer. His wrists still bore the red marks from the cuffs, small circles of proof that silence had weight. The Secret Service agents moved in tight formation, their faces unreadable. One leaned closer, whispering, "You'll be escorted out safely." But even safety sounded political now. Across the barricade, Maya Ellis stood with her camera crew. She didn't need to say anything, and the footage said it all. She turned to her editor on the phone, voice low. "It's everywhere. Every outlet, every feed. They can't control it anymore. Narration settled in softly like the hum before thunder. Some truths don't scream. They just refuse to disappear. An officer tried to cover his badge as the reporters swarmed. Hale was nowhere to be seen. His absence screamed louder than his presence ever had. The couple's lawyer arrived, brushing past the chaos. "Don't speak tonight," he murmured. "Let them choke on their own story first." Jordan nodded slowly, eyes on the flashing lights. "They already wrote it," he said quietly. "We're just the picture they needed." By nightfall, the story had reached every screen: homes, classrooms, police stations. The same image looping again and again, hands raised, eyes steady. A nation watching its reflection and not liking what it saw. And in that reflection, something fragile yet fierce began to stir. Not outrage, but reckoning. The room was too bright, every bulb humming like judgment. Reporters leaned forward, pens ready. The board members sat still, pretending neutrality, their hands folded, their eyes flicking toward the cameras. Officer Hale sat across from Jordan, sweat forming at his temple, a paper cup trembling in his grip. "Officer Hale," the chairwoman began, "you stated the couple was suspicious in behavior. Could you define that for the record?" Hale cleared his throat. "They didn't match the profile." Jordan's voice broke the air, calm and low. "What profile is that?" The silence that followed was unbearable. Not empty, but charged. Every reporter lifted their eyes. Hale looked down as if searching for a version of truth that might save him. I meant their actions, not who they were." Jordan leaned forward slightly. "You saw us standing at a gate, talking, laughing. What action did that threaten you?" The chairwoman didn't intervene. No one did. The weight of the question settled like dust in sunlight, visible, slow, impossible to ignore. Narration pressed in softly. There are moments when silence speaks louder than 1,000 defenses. This was one of them. Hale's jaw moved, but no sound came. A camera clicked. Someone coughed. Then, faintly, a reporter whispered, "He can't answer it." Jordan sat back, his hands folded on the table, the calm of a man who'd carried truth too long to fear it now. The chairwoman finally spoke. "Let the record show that the witness declined to clarify his statement." Hale's eyes flickered up, meeting Jordan's. For the first time, there was no authority left in them, only exposure. And in that heavy, unspoken second, justice didn't roar. It exhaled. The hearing room emptied slowly, but the silence refused to leave. Cameras still hummed, the red lights blinking like watchful eyes. Officer Hale sat alone now, head bowed, his once firm posture gone. Jordan stood across the room, unshaken, his calm radiating louder than any outburst could have. A reporter approached him cautiously. "Mr. Jordan, any comment?" He looked up, his tone steady. "You cannot arrest color. You can only expose fear." The line cut through the air like quiet thunder. The microphones caught it, the world caught it, and somewhere far beyond that sterile room, living rooms, classrooms, and phones flickered with the replay. Hale's face beside Jordan's became a symbol, not of one man's guilt, but of an entire system forced to look at itself. Narration filled the gap between their silence. Sometimes justice doesn't need to shout. It only needs to be heard once, by the right ears. The chairwoman watched from the doorway, her composure breaking for a flicker of a second. "He's right," she murmured to no one in particular. Hale finally spoke, voice barely holding together. "I didn't mean for it to happen that way." Jordan turned, eyes soft but resolute. "It always happens that way, until someone refuses to bow." The words weren't an attack. They were an ending. The kind that didn't draw applause but reflection. The kind that made silence feel earned. Outside, protesters began to gather, not shouting, just standing. Signs read, "Dignity doesn't kneel. Truth needs no volume." And as night settled over the city, the story wasn't about rage anymore. It was about restraint, the kind that shakes the world without breaking a voice. The hum of the refrigerator is the only sound left in Hale's apartment. The walls, once crowded with certificates and framed headlines, now look naked, stripped of purpose. He scrolls through his phone again, the group chat still empty. No one replies. The silence he once demanded from others has finally chosen him. Guess it's quiet now, he mutters, almost laughing, but the sound dies in his throat. His reflection in the window stares back, tired, hollow. He remembers Jordan's eyes, not angry, just steady. "You can't arrest color," Jordan had said. The words have started to rot inside him, growing louder with every ignored call. At the station, the whispers stopped long ago. Colleagues pass him with polite nods. Too careful, too distant. No one says his name anymore. He can feel it. The erasure, slow and deliberate. He replays that moment at the gate, over and over. The cuffs, the cameras, the silence after the storm. In his head, he hears Jordan again. "You only expose fear." Hale exhales, gripping his phone tighter. "Was that fear?" he whispers. "Was that me?" No answer. Only the steady tick of the clock, each second reminding him he's no longer seen, no longer needed. Outside, the city moves on. Traffic, laughter, life. Inside, Hale sits motionless, swallowed by the same quiet he once used as a weapon. He lowers the phone and turns off the light. Darkness wraps around him like truth, soft, heavy, and final. For the first time, Hale doesn't try to fill the silence. He listens. And somewhere in it, he finally understands what it feels like to disappear without a sound. The airport looks smaller now, quieter, almost humbled. Jordan pauses at the same gate where it all happened. Alana stands beside him, her fingers brushing the cool metal of the railing, the same one she was once pressed against. No flashing lights this time. No raised voices. Just the soft echo of footsteps and distant announcements. "They fixed the cameras," Alana says softly. Jordan nods. Maybe they finally wanted the right things recorded. A group of students passes by, whispering. One of them looks at Jordan, recognition lighting up his face. "That's him," he murmurs. "The man from the video," Jordan offers a small nod. No pride, just peace. The boy's eyes hold something new. Respect, maybe understanding. Alana looks at him. "You think they remember what it cost?" Jordan takes a breath. They don't have to, as long as they remember why. The silence between them stretches, not heavy anymore, but full. Across the terminal, a digital screen flickers to life, playing a short film. The Gate of Truth. Their story, the cuffs, the stillness, the storm, replayed for a new generation. A teacher's voice narrates, calm and clear. Justice doesn't roar. It remembers. Alana watches the faces of the children. Some lean forward, some look down, but all are listening. "They're learning from silence," she whispers. Jordan nods, eyes glistening. That's how truth survives. He turns to the gate once more. The same doors that once closed on them now slide open without resistance. No applause follows. No anthem plays, just quiet. The kind that tells you something wrong was finally made right. They walk through together.